All right. So, hello everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Rachel and I am the marketing manager for Asia Pacific here at Acquia. Today's presentation is called How Can You Pivot to Success? The Centara Hotels and Resorts Story. Just a couple of housekeeping items before we get started. If you have any questions for us, we are saving time at the end. So please be sure to use the Q&A and chat windows to submit your questions and we'll bring them up at the end. This presentation is being recorded and we will share it with you at the end of the session. So we have with us today Tom Thrussell, the Vice President of Brand, Marketing and Digital from Centara Hotels and Resorts. So Tom's rich analytical experience comes from his innate ability to harness his skills in building and expanding the Centara brand, both within Thailand and globally. He's responsible for ensuring that the product and service offering is relevant and tailored to the diverse needs of Centara's discerning international guest audience. So before we bring Tom on, we have Tony Peters, our pre-sales lead for Acquia Asia, who will give you an introduction. So as our pre-sales lead for Acquia Asia, Tony interacts with enterprise organizations and helps align IT strategies with direct business goals. So without further ado, I'll pass it over to Tony. Tony, take it away.
Thanks a lot, Rachel. Yeah, thanks a lot for joining us. Today we wanted to speak with Centara Hotels and Resorts. We wanted to bring them to the wider audience because we think there's a great story here. Not just because they're a great customer of Acquia, but because they're really pushing forward as a brand in these difficult times. But this is a story we're seeing all over the world now. We're seeing changes with traditional bricks and mortar businesses being forced into digital trading, digital communications, where they haven't necessarily needed to before. We're seeing things like education and massively changing on how they're engaging with students. And of course, we've seen that travel and tourism industry really unfairly hit with that crushing blow, possibly the worst hit sector on the planet. We're seeing hospitality slowly pick up around, but it's very different to what we saw even just last year. And the audience and segments are now completely different moving forward. But it's not just these industries that are seeing a change in the market-based and communications. We're also seeing changes of things like the way these companies are doing business. Things like procurement, they're racing to catch up with really this pivoting, which the businesses need. Budgets are having to be altered on the fly. So with that, we're very pleased to have Centara chat with us today. As I've mentioned, they're a customer of Acquia, but they're also seeing really huge changes within the industry, the addressable market, and how they're going to communicate and serve their customers, customer base and beyond. So with that, I'm actually going to show a quick video just to set some the scene. You can see some of Centara's beautiful resorts and things and about what they're doing. And then we'll go get on and introduce Tom, who we're going to be speaking to today. Yeah, so with that, you can see some of the really beautiful resorts and hotels, etc., within the region. I've been lucky to stay in the Centara Grand within Bangkok. It is really nice, I'll suggest it. Really good location. And I'm actually really looking forward to seeing the new place in, well, I guess new Tom can tell us more, but in the Maldives. I'm sure we're all looking forward to travel again. Not just so because we're going crazy, especially here in Singapore, it's very small. Obviously, the travel industry needs us to get up and running. And with that, we're really pleased to have Tom on board with us today to chat with us. Rachel's already given a little introduction to Tom. He's a Brit like me. He's been in Thailand for about 5 years, or just over 5 years now, coming from the UK, where he was managing such luxury brands such as the Connaught and Barclay, and also working for American Express. So he's obviously been around a business. He knows what he's talking about, but he's also brought double-digit growth each year to Centara Hotels and Resorts, which is great. He's overseeing all these elements of marketing mix, from branding, marketing, e-commerce, through to CRM, loyalty, and PR. So it means we're going to have a great conversation about these different areas, how that data is being brought together, how they are pivoting through these times very fast, how they're really pushing digital, changing addressable market, and then bringing all this data together to really move forward. So with that, we're going to start our conversation today. We're going to give a few minutes for Tom to introduce himself and Centara, where they're going, what they're doing, and we'll get into some questions about how they're really using digital. So over to you, Tom. Do you want to tell us a little about yourself and Centara?
Absolutely. Good morning, Tony. Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me well?
Yep, can. We're all good. Thank you.
Excellent. Well, thank you all for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. You've given me a brilliant introduction. Thank you. And I think the video was a good summary as well. But for those that don't know, so obviously I'm heading marketing for Centara Hotels and Resorts. We're Thailand's leading hotel group, primarily a family run and owned business. And we're part of Central Group as well, for Thailand's largest retail, real estate, hospitality and restaurant conglomerate. You saw in the video, we've got 81 properties now, both across Thailand, but also across Asia and the Middle East, of which about half of them are already open and operating, and the other half are in the pipeline and being developed, launching between now and the next few years. Our portfolio spans six brands, ranging from the affordable lifestyle, our brand Cozy, right through to our recently launched luxury brand Centara Reserve, and the first property will open in the very early part of next year. So we're very excited about that. Our core portfolio of properties sit in our Centara and Centara Grand portfolio of brands. They're our two sort of founding brands. And I think would probably be best described as being known for family-centric resorts and really holiday experiences. Although, of course, in cities such as Bangkok, we've got two of the largest convention centres and really strong on our corporate business as well. Overall, in direction for the company, we're really our vision is to become a global company. So of Thai origin, of course, but a really recognized global organization. I think right now we're very well known within Thailand, really a household name here, and still the majority of our properties are here. So our vision is really on continuing that international expansion to become a global name. I think we're currently sitting at about 150 or 140 in the global hotel organizations in terms of size, and we are anticipating getting into that top 100 mark within the next 3 to 4 years. So exciting growth ahead.
Yeah, that sounds is great. And the fact that you're still talking about growth, especially we're in 2020. We know it's been a crazy year for everyone, but the travel and tourism industry has been hit so hard, hasn't it? And the fact that you're still talking about growth is fantastic. So many companies are battening down the hatches and just trying to survive, let alone talk about growth. I mean, many borders are closed. People can't travel. Can they? So your typical customer marketing database is not necessarily completely valid now. I mean, you say that you're a household name within Thailand, but to grow this much, and of course you have hotels outside of Thailand as well, you're growing around. So how are you really, how are you tackling this, and how are you pivoting in that respect to your addressable market is just completely changing now?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Obviously right now, the bulk of our properties are in Thailand. We're also in the Maldives, Vietnam, Sri Lanka, Oman, and Qatar. But generally, the trend's the same, right? These countries are predominantly locked down, and they're all relying on domestic business only. I'll use Thailand as the prime example, given that's where the majority of our business is. I said before, we've been quite a resort-centric destination, family-centric brand. We've relied on 80% or more of our business to come from international markets. And so not only are we relying on international business, the majority of that international business historically has really been through tour operators, travel agents, the people that people are booking their family holiday experiences, often packaged with flights, etc. Now, none of that business is there, right? So we're left with the 20% or so of business that we were getting domestically, but that's not enough to sustain an organization. So yeah, we've had some tougher decisions to make, some real changes to the way we conduct business. Naturally, that a lot of the investment we've been placing on driving revenue has been shifted to the Thai market, and the Thai market don't book through those traditional channels. It's really very much an online driven market, very much direct as well. We are thankful that we've got a good reputation in Thailand, which supports driving that direct business. And also we've placed a big focus on loyalty as well. We have got a strong loyalty program of 6 million or 7 million now, actually, Centara members who we can tap into. Almost half of those within Thailand. So we've been focusing strongly on preferred member pricing to really try and drive cut through in a very, very competitive market. Of course, we've ramped up our online advertising focus on and traffic generation amongst those Thai audiences as well, and put in place some quite novel and aggressive local promotions to the Thai audience that will tap into customer sentiments and needs right now. Things like flexibility around their stays, a focus on spa or well-being packages, private villa offers, because we know people are looking for that seclusion, security, and reassurance when they travel.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely sounds like a lot of change, because that 80% of the market is currently gone. And at the moment, we don't know when it's going to come back. But like many businesses, traditionally, you've used the website as your own digital business. A lot of things have been driving to the website. How do you see that evolving with these multiple channels? Now, you've talked about like promotions and driving people, and luckily Thailand likes to go direct, so that's one hurdle that is a little bit easier to overcome. But also Thailand, they're very digitally savvy. They like to use their mobile phones a lot. They don't necessarily like just sitting down on the computer and a typical website like a lot of Asia. So how do you see that evolving and managing all of these different channels that you now have to own, but realistically so your teams can manage?
Yeah, you said that very well there. Thailand, as an example, is incredibly online savvy. I think the usage of social media, for example, on mobile is amongst the highest in the world. I think they're in the top 10 markets. So incredibly important. Naturally, we're focusing at the moment with your guys' support on redoing our total digital experience. The website being completely relaunched, and we're iteratively relaunching that from this month by brand. A key component of that, of course, is the mobile experience. If we're not thinking mobile first, we're doing something wrong. That's one of the first key points. Look, we're getting sort of 60% of our visits now onto our site through mobile. The same can't be said of bookings yet. I think bookings are more like 30%, but and people are still to some extent looking, when they're making the purchase, happy to go back onto a desktop or a tablet. But all the browsing material behavior and the decision making is really done on mobile. So that's critical. We're seeing all sorts of other online channels drive that direct online business. Social's becoming so much more important to us. We've actually just launched a social media task force, actually, where we haven't necessarily got the resource across the full group. We're now 42 hotels operating. So we've pulled together a task force from our staff that have got perhaps less focused on their traditional roles at the moment, and from our conventional teams who are now creating content, putting together the content strategy, publishing materials across all our 42 hotel sites, from our Facebooks to Instagrams to Line, which is obviously a very, very important messaging tool here. And we're really seeing some not only good conversation and engagement, but great conversions coming through these channels. So that's really been key. Loyalty, of course, we mentioned before, we're leveraging those channels to drive direct business because we can offer preferred pricing, but also reach our key audience in a personalized way. At the moment, the online influencers, the KOLs, are really, really important. They're no more important than in Thailand, when they really are an authority on decision making. So that's critical. But also more and more what we're seeing evolve is our live chat functionality. So people, yes, they may start online or elsewhere, but they really just want to convert, not in traditional conversation, but through messaging and online chats. And for that, we actually will be launching a bot soon. We haven't done that yet, but we recognized as we expand, we need to cut through some of those regular customer service questions, free up some time for our customer service and reservations forces to be converting bookings, and automate some of the other messaging. All this, of course, needs to be fully seamless and integrated, right? So from our web to our live chats, of course, the booking engine, social channels, all has to be seamless. So we're seeing a big evolution. You're right, it did used to tend to just be focused on driving those businesses through our own website, but all these now need to come together to feed that online funnel, if you like.
Yeah, you talked about that. One point I picked up there was you brought this task force for the social business, and then you talked about the live chat and then bringing in the bot and things. So the bot sounds like you're moving towards that scalability side of things, because in Asia, typically it's like people talked about, yes, resources are cheap, we can just throw people at things, etc. But that it only scales so far, doesn't it? And of course, you talked about growth. You talked about rising in the face of that global fear and increasing your footprint. So what other areas do you see that scalability? One area we talked about previously in our conversations was your central reservation system. So yeah, you'll go through, can you tell us a little bit more about those scalable changes where you've been sort of held back and now you can sort of get more freedom and move forward?
Yeah, sure. I mean, first of all, just you mentioned growth. I think we are fortunate that we are continuing to go through and enjoy a growth period. It's fair to say we're not opening new hotels at the rate we expected to. Right now, we expected sort of 7 or 8 hotels to open this year. In actual fact, we've opened 2, just because of project delays, which are inevitable because of the situation. But there are many new deals also being signed because there are many opportunities with some distressed inventory out there that we're managing to tap into. So that's exciting that we are growing. In terms of how we're managing that growth, I think scalable is a very good word. And you also referenced the ability often in the region to layer on, in some cases, relatively cost-effective labor and put more and more people in, which can go so far. I think we've grown very quickly from a company of sort of 5-10 properties to now 42 in operation. We are in a phase of transition, I would say, from a small to medium-sized company to a medium to large-sized company. We've had many staff and driving all marketing, sales, digital, everything's been CRM, everything's really been driven through a corporate office team. So not only the strategic corporate efforts, brand-wide advertising campaigns, but also property-specific activities where they haven't had the resource on property because we've had that controlled, which is very good from a brand standpoint at a corporate level. But moving forward, as we expand, that just isn't sustainable going forward. So we now need to, and we're working on very much, I call it a digital transformation. I know it's a widely used term, but we really are refreshing our entire technology architecture to make sure that we're scalable going forward. we're putting in place a customer contact center. This is really a centralized call center and customer service center, which will handle all customer service queries going to all hotels, reservations, online, be them online or offline, the chat services, in person or bot, our loyalty customer service, essentially all that centralized with strong abilities to then either automatically manage communication or also upsell and cross-sell, which is critical. But that's very efficient for the company as well, where traditionally we've had reservations teams at every single property who can handle the properties themselves, but they can't really effectively cross-sell or upsell to other regions and destinations. So that's key. But also right now, as you're aware, redoing our web experience, we're relaunching or launching a new CRM. So we're going through a process to identify now a CRM partner to ensure complete data centricity, personalized customer marketing, and a single customer view, if you like. We're reviewing our central reservation systems, so the systems that all our reservations pass through, no matter whether they're coming from which online or offline channel. So really, we're reinventing our tech architecture to make sure what we do is scalable. So long term, just as a couple of examples, instead of having bottlenecks centrally where we are managing all website content, of course we will control the guidelines and parameters around that, but hotels will be able to manage their own digital content. Email marketing or other CRM, it won't just be managed from a corporate level. Of course, there'll be corporate campaigns, but our properties and brands will also be able to give much more personalized one-to-one communications with customers from their own properties, leveraging these systems. So I think we're going to see some great efficiencies, enhanced personalization, and definitely increased revenue opportunity through these changes.
That's great. It seems like you're really trying to strike that balance between that corporate governance, so you really protect your brand and that message going forward, but also allowing your different resorts and hotels to have their individual flavors, which they need to have. You don't want to have like a robotic everything. You want to have your brand, but people go to particular resorts and areas for reasons. So yeah, striking that balance is really important. We found that, yeah, trying to do everything centrally is just not scalable, and you also, yeah, it's not the great customer experience, but you do need to protect your brand as well. So it's great to hear that. You did actually mention loyalty a few times now. I know that the central group, which you're part of, has the one card. You have a loyalty platform, and obviously comes with its own challenges. And now there's one central area you're looking at bringing together is that call center. That brings together data, etc. How are you tackling that data? I wouldn't say problem as much, but we know that integrations, bringing data together, brings its own challenges as well. Can you tell us a little bit about that, connecting data, your loyalty program, etc., and how that works with the bigger group?
Yeah, sure. So again, we are very fortunate. We've got a strong, loyal following for Centara. We also have, so Central Group has 17 million members within Thailand, which is essentially almost a third of the population. So that's a fantastic base. So in general, across those two platforms, loyalty is fantastic, right? We've got great access to customer data. The Thai audience absolutely love it and value it hugely. Again, it's very Thai-centric in that respect as a program. We can offer privileged rates to members without the fear of the wrath of the online travel agents for breaking rate parity. And yeah, the access to this huge number of data, this huge database is fantastic. On the flip side, yeah, we've got various challenges. There are challenges to remain relevant for international properties and international audiences, because we are, again, that data is quite Thai-centric. And also we're a resort destination, a resort brand to many extents. So we're not getting the frequency of visits like you would a corporate hotel with properties in every single global city. So we're not getting that frequency of visit from international international travelers, which means the international element can be a challenge. And you said it before, that the Central Group and Centara, we've got the same name program, the One, Centara the One, and Central's the One. The same brand, same overall company, yet actually underneath that, different programs with different currencies and different software systems. So the data sharing and communication is a little bit cumbersome, and to access one another's data is not always as simple as it could be. So we're obviously in all those challenges I just mentioned. They're all, I would say, opportunities more than challenges. We're tackling them in various ways. So in terms of the international element, we're really looking at onboarding more redemption partners to appeal to international audiences, and enhancing the member in-stay benefits to make sure that even if the guest can't travel with as much frequency to our properties, it's still a no-brainer to be a part of that program to drive on, and gives us the ongoing customer lifetime opportunity with ongoing marketing. With the One, our long-term vision is certainly to integrate this into one all-encompassing program. I think that would be incredibly strong if we own data for what will be an aggregated sort of 22 million customers, having full overview of their spend across travel, retail, restaurants, and the personalization that we'll be able to achieve there will be absolutely phenomenal. So the long-term vision is to fully integrate those programs. In the short term, we're working on sort of back end and behind the scenes points exchanges between the One and Central the One, so that at least customers can leverage and burn their points that they're earning across any of those business units in a seamless experience. They don't know the complexities of the points conversions going on behind the scene. So we're trying to initially drive the synergy without all the platforms totally being integrated, with a longer term vision for total integration. The other thing that obviously we're finding, and one potential challenge, is with these loyalty programs, customers are expecting extreme personalization. They want everything, in the right channel at the right time, and only the offers and communications and messaging that's relevant to them. We haven't necessarily been able to deliver that as strongly as we would like to date. But one thing that we will be doing, by integrating our loyalty program and our customer profiles into our new web experience, we're looking forward to at least being able to deliver some very strong, personalized, dynamic content to those customers based on their profiles, their past behaviors, or even just their recent web browsing behaviors. So that, I think, will make a huge difference to our customer loyalty and CRM.
It's great that you see the value in that, the value of data providing these personalized experiences, because as you know, the travel and tourism industry recently, it's been all about experience, hasn't it? And that starts with that very first click. It's not all about just when they're in the resort and having a good time there. It starts off with that very first click. And we're going to see that change more and more. And actually that experience side of things is going to be at the forefront, because people aren't going to travel as much now. The industry is changing, whether it's changing for the good, we're not sure yet. But that experience is going really end to end, and even after the stay now. So it's great to hear you talk about that data, connecting that data and actually putting it to use. Which is really important, because we could have data coming out of our ears. If you don't use it for the ways that you said, it's kind of useless in my eyes. So I'd like to say thank you very much for actually bringing Acquia on that journey with you. We're looking forward to that new site launch, which is fairly soon, I believe, at centarahotelsandresorts.com, I believe is the address.
It is our first launch. Will actually be our youngest, more millennial centric affordable lifestyle brand, Cozy. So watch out for that in the next couple of weeks, and then we will iteratively roll out those brands over the next couple of months. So
brilliant,
looking good.
Yeah, no, it's good, and it's always interesting to see new brands come out as well. It always keeps the challenges good for you, doesn't it? So I just wanted to finish up with a question. Obviously, we've got an audience here. People are going through all different challenges and things. Do you have any tips or words of wisdom for, you've obviously been through a lot of pain with these changes, the huge negative impact. Any words of wisdom that you can provide of going through this extreme pain yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they'll be necessarily relevant to all. I think every business and every industry is impacted differently by this situation, right? Naturally, travel and hospitality really is on the front line of where the pain is being felt first. However, I think all industries will obviously feel an impact, just maybe at different times, different phases. But I would say through every one of these challenges that we face, there is, of course, opportunities to be uncovered as well. I think a lot of customer behaviors from this, whether it's in terms of travel booking behaviors or through to just how customers their purchasing behaviors, how they consume media, online behaviors, are changing for good now. Not everything will revert to where they were before. I think certainly this has expedited that digital transformation, particularly. My view throughout all this, and if we are fortunate enough to be able to do this, is to invest in those platforms and those solutions and systems that are going to put us, or put you in the best place to drive business and profitability when the market returns to some sort of, I don't want to say normality, but when global travel resumes and whatever the new normal, as people like to say, looks like, we're ready to handle it. But we are making sure that we are investing in those platforms and processes now, so that we can adapt and be very, very agile and fast to market when things pick up again. So that's what we're doing anyway.
Thanks for that. And I like the way you use the word invest rather than a cost, because it is about investing in the future of your business, your role, and the future of the customer experience, which is absolutely changing. Rather than seeing it as a cost, it really is an investment. So yeah, thanks for those parting words.
And it's not only, I guess, always investing new funds, right? I mean, we're in very, very cautious times, right? Budgets are a lot tighter. We're not investing as much, but there are also considerable saves and re-engineering in other areas. So it doesn't have to mean, certainly doesn't have to mean incremental cost, that's for sure. And it should be seen as an investment, you're right.
And it's not investment for the sake of it. You've really got to look at things and look deeper now than you have before. Yeah, if you can invest and save in different areas, processes, things, all the better. But it's definitely a great time to reevaluate where you are, isn't it? Because we have to change in some way.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we're going to go into a little bit of a Q&A now. I think we had one question come through already from someone. I'm going to read it out now and see if we can answer this one. So someone's asked, how do you incorporate customer feedback or customer thinking into your digital experience design process? Okay, this is interesting. So this one sounds like it's more about the doing that investment and then actually leading up to the actual experience itself. So is that something you can answer, Tom, about the process?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'll answer if I'm interpreting it exactly accurately, but first of all, in a world where we're no longer we're not really the voice of our brand anymore, right? It's no longer a world of just pushing, interrupting, shouting at people. Essentially, others are our brand for us. Whether it's referrals, word of mouth, peers, etc. It's particularly important to get that feedback from customers out there, to act as our champions of our marketing in many ways. I mean, we are very, very conscious in our new web development. We're fully integrating those customer reviews and content into our experience. So, and not in an overly moderated way either, right? This is a sort of a genuine experience of what links through to TripAdvisors or other review platforms to learn the experience of our site from third parties. We're integrating social content into our site, so you're not just seeing those perfectly polished photography that we're producing ourselves. You're also seeing content from third parties as well. So I think that's particularly important to really give credibility to the brand experience. So we're integrating that. We also through our CRM, of course, are constantly through surveys with customers, whether it's post stays, etc., on collecting feedback, onboarding that to then make operational and service focused decisions. So they are all playing a role and being affected, I guess, through our digital and technology platforms. I don't know if that answers the question as it was intended, but that's certainly what we're doing.
Well, I think actually, I mean, to me, it answers, in fact, that whereas before you would go through this process of designing your customer experience, of going through the UX design, the focus groups and all things like that. And it will be almost like this linear process, and then you launch, and then that's what you're given. But what you're looking at,
which we did do as well, by the way.
Of course, that's all hygiene factors, aren't they? But now you're going for this platform that's flexible enough, and it's including that customer feedback, the customer thinking and things like that within your design, within your output. So it's much more flexible and agile, isn't it? Because it's going to be swaying one way or another depending on those experiences that people go through. So it's not going to just be a static, you launch and leave it. You're going to be updating content. It's going to be user generated content everywhere. So yeah, I see that the design process probably a little bit less relevant than it was before. It's a great start, but then it's just going to be a journey you're going to be on with your customers, it sounds like.
Yeah, or even more challenging than it was before, because the design has to be built in a flexible approach so that you can then tailor that content afterwards. I guess another way that you could look at it is by integrating that personalization and dynamic content, you're also reacting to feedback in terms of what customers want or what they've browsed and what their profile is to serve them relevant content. So that's another way of looking at how we are essentially taking on board their feedback or behaviors and integrating it into the process.
It's not easy, is it? We have to say that it's not easy, but it is possible. And I think that when you've got your site launches, etc., it'll be the central group or the Centara hotels will be proof in the pudding that things are possible. In the face of diversity, there are ways to grow. Absolutely not easy, but thank you very much, Tom, for sharing this journey with us. And again, thank you for being a customer. Loyalty goes both ways. We're looking forward to coming back to Thailand soon. I'm looking forward from a personal basis, going on vacation, which will be good. We've actually got one little question, a bit more of a personal one, I think. Which is your favorite hotel to stay in within your group and why? So it's an interesting one.
That's very difficult because there's there are different for different occasions. But I have to say, the Centara Grand Island Resort in the Maldives is, to me, the most special property we have. I've been a couple of times now, and I have to say that the pictures you see in the brochures really just don't do things justice. The sense of arrival on there through a seaplane, it's really a picture postcard moment that can never be done justice to from any visual experience. It's a wonderful resort. It's also quite unique in the Maldives in that, yes, it's the traditional elements of it being a wonderful honeymoon experience, romantic, but actually it's a family-centric resort as well, which you don't normally get in the Maldives. And that ties back nicely to our brand principles, because we are a family-founded and owned business, but also a very, very family-centric business with family experiences at the heart. So I would say that I probably should have said one in Thailand, being that's the country we were founded and where we're from, but that property to me in the Maldives really is just superb and my favorite.
Sounds great. I mean, obviously you're a great customer of ours. We've obviously given you some great discounts on our products, so we'll keep in contact around possibly a stay in the Maldives. So. I'm just kidding. But no, it is very high on our list. It does look fantastic, and you've just backed that up. So thank you very much. I think we've reached the end of our chat now. If anyone does have any other questions, you can always reach out to us here at Acquia. We can maybe forward things or something, or have discussions moving forward. Please do look out for the new Centara brands which are coming up, and when we're traveling, hopefully you can make use of their new digital experience which is coming up. And yeah, to book your vacations coming up, hopefully next year we'll all start to be able to travel again. So, but thank you very much, Tom, for your being very open about things, and it was great chatting with you. So
thanks very much. Brilliant to talk to you.
Thanks. I'll hand over to Rachel for a bit of closing. Thanks.
Yes.
Cheers.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Tom. Thank you all for your time, for attending. Yes, definitely, we are all looking forward to travel, and yes, Centara would definitely be one of the places we want to go. Definitely Maldives as well. So, okay, the slides and the recording of this webinar will be posted on our website and you'll be sent it to you via an email. So be sure to look out for that. So thank you so much again. So we're going to end this session now. Thank you. See you guys.
Thanks.
Bye.